Hi friends, welcome back. It is November 17th and the garden's still producing. And somehow it is cold and the Paleta Man, ice cream dude, still going around playing his song. This spring, my neighbor offered her yard so that I could garden in it. And I am growing a ton of food over here. So let me show you. Just over the fence is my yard. And my neighbor saw what I was doing with my yard. She got excited and she said I could garden her yard. She said, use as much as you want. So I did. I took a big old portion of her yard. And this spring and summer, we grew a ton of food for ourselves. And now it is fall, and I am growing a bunch of cool weather crops that I'm going to be eating in the next few weeks. And I also still have a ton of peppers and tomatoes here. Last year, she had created a small square here where she had a lot of food, but then I decided to make it just slightly larger. So I put a black plastic down to kill the weeds during the winter months, and then in the spring I tilled the soil, and then I grew a ton of corn, sesame seeds, okras, tomatoes, and peppers in here. And right now the frosts have not killed the tomatoes yet, so they are still producing, and I have harvested a ton of tomatoes from here. No joke, I have harvested thousands of these little tomatoes and they are still producing. They are really prolific and they are really good for salsas. And the best things about these little tomatoes is that they are volunteers. They must have come from the compost pile that we had here last fall, and they came up on their own. This row was supposed to be all hot peppers and sweet peppers, but somehow these wanted to grow and I let them grow. And it paid off because I've had hundreds of tomatoes from here. My mom has hundreds of tomatoes from this garden in her freezer right now, and I have hundreds of tomatoes in the freezer right now. What I do is I take these little tomatoes, I put them in pint-sized plastic containers and I freeze them. And when I need a tomato in the winter months, I take it out and I pop it right into the pot or into the pan. They are delicious. So as you can see, there's just so many tomatoes, and I harvest them when they are about this color, and I put them into my basket. I bring them inside my house and they finish ripening inside my house. My neighbor has taken so many of these tomatoes as well, and I tell her, take as many tomatoes as you want. That is the deal we've made. She gets to harvest as much as she wants from these plants, and I get to harvest just as many. And it has been so bountiful that we both get so much more than we can eat. And so she gets to share them with her friends and family as well. So it's quite helpful to have a neighbor like that. This yard that she has gets a lot more sun than my yard. So that's how we are able to mutually benefit from this arrangement. And she loves gardening too. So she likes growing food, but not as much as I do. And if somebody is willing to work the land for her, she is willing to let me have it. Next year, I'm going to extend the garden here a little bit more because she wants to grow very specific plants like Malabar spinach and very spicy peppers, she says. So I'm going to make this garden a little bit bigger, and I'm going to start the prep work in the next few weeks so that we can kill this grass, add fertility to the soil, and make our job a lot easier in the springtime. The most incredible thing is that we've already had a frost here, and these plants were not affected by the frost, and I have no idea how that happened. And I mean, I guess you can see a little bit of freezer, you can see a little bit of burn here, but most of these plants are still kicking. And the cool thing is we don't have another frost in the next week or so, so a lot of these will be able to get ripe, and I will continue to harvest beautiful tomatoes. Check out how many there are. This is incredible. The tomatoes that I wanted to grow this year actually didn't do very well. They all died because there was not enough water. I didn't water them enough, and there was not enough rain. So they all died. But these right here, they are very resilient and they survive without much rain. Isn't that amazing? So I know it was not us doing the watering, it's that they are volunteers. And volunteer plants sometimes are the most resilient plants you'll ever get to grow. Next year, I'm planning on growing more food than I did this year. The food prices at the grocery stores have gotten quite high. I am quite surprised that the prices have not come down yet. I would imagine after the pandemic the prices would come down, but it seems like after the pandemic a lot of things have gotten out of whack, and especially food has gotten expensive. I know if inflation is coming down, but the prices we had in 2019 are not the prices we have currently. So even though inflation is slowing, the prices are still high. And one way I can lower my grocery bill is by growing a ton of food. And luckily, I know how to do that. And I can do it for very little money. I'm thinking of making a series about how much money you can save by growing your own food. The other day I put out a little picture online and people were telling me it takes a lot of money to grow food. And yes, I agree with that sometimes. You can go overboard and you can spend a lot of money. Like I did with my greenhouse, I spent $800 to buy a greenhouse. But you can also grow food just on dirt that is native, and you can probably get a crop. Somebody said that the price of water is really expensive out west, and I pondered that for a moment and I said, it is expensive, but a lot of the food we eat comes out from the desert. And I know that they have water rights to the Colorado River, and that creates its own issues, I'm sure. But I created this 2-bucket system last spring, and it works so well. So if you are having problems with watering and you need to water a lot, I would look into self-watering containers. Those are really well for conserving water. Or I would suggest even looking into a hydroponic system where the water gets recycled and you don't use a ton of water. So there are methods that you could do to lower your expenses as you grow more food. I'm going to show you the garden plot I have here, and I have literally spent about $10 on seeds, and let me show you the amount of food that I have there. Check out the amount of food that is growing right here, and I have spent no more than $10 on the seeds. And the reason I haven't spent more than $10 is because I also save a lot of my own seeds. You see this patch right here? My neighbor loves cilantro, and she wanted cilantro more than anything else in her yard. So I was like, I'm gonna make a big old patch of cilantro. And all this cilantro is free because I've saved the seeds from the plants I had here this spring, and I planted those here. And check out how much cilantro she's gonna have to eat this fall and winter. Cilantro does best when you grow it in the winter months, and this cilantro just smells so fresh, so good. I have a ton of radishes in these beds because they do really well, and they are about the only thing that grows that is not a green. So it produces like a bulb, I guess. And I love growing radishes. I don't really like eating radishes fresh because they give me heartburn, but what I like to do with them is I like to pickle them, and I also make kimchi with them. So let me show them to you. I had so many packets of seeds for radishes that I decided to just sprinkle the seeds everywhere. And check out the amount of radishes that are in here. Check out these radishes. There's one right here, 2, 3. Beautiful radishes. And you see that patch right there? There's more radishes there. There's daikon radishes over there. The daikon radishes are beautiful radishes. They are white and they produce a big old radish, and they are used in kimchi. And I was trying to grow some Napa cabbage in here, but it didn't take root, I don't think. I don't see too many. Check out this little patch here. It's planted with these. These are red leaf lettuce that I saved the seeds from another one that I had in my yard. And this is arugula from a bunch of arugula seeds that I saved from my garden. So you can save a lot of money by saving your own seeds. And saving your own seed doesn't have to be very difficult. A lot of these plants just bolt and flower, and you leave them and you let them do their thing. And once they're ripe, you cut them, you hang them upside down, they dry for a few weeks, and voila, now you have seeds that are free and that you can use next year. I also tried to grow some peas over here this fall, but I planted them a little late. So now we have these beautiful pea plants, but guess what? You can take these shoots and mix them into your salad, and now you have delicious sweet pea shoots. Check out these beautiful radishes over here. You can eat the tops of these and they taste just like spinach. I did throw some spinach seeds in here and nothing happened. They did not grow. So sometimes you get what you get. And over here, there's some bok choy. Check out how beautiful this bok choy is. Oh, I see some spinach, finally, right here. It is tiny though. I wonder how it is going to do this winter. Maybe it will survive. It usually survives the winter here, but usually is a bit more mature than this. So we'll end up seeing what happens here. And in between here, there's a bunch of things that are edible, but I don't tend to eat too much. This is bitter cress, and that is edible. And this is called dead nettle, and that one is also edible. So if you get to learn the weeds, you can also eat a lot of food. These must be the Spanish black radishes. I try to grow this every year, but they don't do much for me. But here, actually, here's a black radish. They are so cool. They are black, and they are really cool. You can throw them in soups. They're very hardy. And I am amazed because the okra patch is still going. There's a ton of okra that we left here for seed for next year. And if I would have had my go at it, I would have harvested a long time ago. But my neighbor wanted to keep all of the plants here for seeds. So that's what I did. Otherwise, I would have planted something else here. But also, we still have tomatoes in here. Isn't that incredible? Check out the amount of tomatoes. So we're gonna be eating real good from this garden this fall and a little bit into the winter because all of these is edible. Over here I have some white turnips. I don't see any turnips yet, so we'll see what happens with those. And over here I threw all the seeds that I had that were extras. I didn't want to keep those anymore. This is mustard seeds. This is Mizuna, which is a mustard green, and a bunch of turnip greens over here. It's crazy the amount of food that is here. This part does not get a lot of sun, so that's why it's very small in comparison to this. Look at this radish. Isn't that cool? There's tons of food in the ground right now. Check out the amount of tomatoes I was able to harvest from there. It's probably about 3 pints worth of tomatoes. And I have been harvesting just like this once a week for the last 3 months. And I get so many tomatoes out of here. And there is still loads of them in there. So hopefully we'll get maybe even one more week would be perfect. Get us into Thanksgiving with some tomatoes. So incredible. Check this out. The okra who loves heat. Still producing flowers right now. Amazing. That is so cool. Okra. Everything has dropped the leaves. Trees are ready for winter. I am so grateful for my garden and my neighbor for letting me use her yard. And hopefully next year we can even get more harvest. So I have to keep harvesting my food here, my friends, because I have about 30 minutes worth of daylight. But I am happy to still be harvesting tomatoes. And in my yard, I still have a ton of peppers. I have sweet peppers, jalapenos, spicy peppers that I still have to harvest. And I am so blessed to have this garden space, to be able to grow my own food and to be able to talk to you guys. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a like and comment down below what is still growing in your garden. And are you planning to grow any winter food this year? Let me know in the comments down below. See you on the next one.